A reflection from Damaris, based on Acts chapter 17, verse 34. You heard how I became a Christian? It was Paul of Tarsus preaching in Athens. Sly one he was. Up there on the Areopagus, surrounded by philosophers and their followers, he offered arguments rather than inspirations. He saw an altar with an inscription, "To the unknown God," and used that very artefact to explain who Jesus was and what he meant. Not only to Jews, but to Greeks, even Romans, Gauls, everyone. Paul had us in the palm of his hand until close to the end when he mentioned in passing that God, of whom we are all offspring, raised Jesus from death. That extinguished the interest of most philosophers. A few remained to listen, even fewer to become baptised. Dionysius the Areopagite was the most well-known man. I'm not well-known, but I happen to be the only woman to be baptised. To be fair, there were not many women at the Areopagus that bright spring day, since women were not philosophers. Some assumed I was someone's courtesan, but I was Stoic, the one school of philosophy that welcomes women thinkers. I was a thinker. I liked to use logic, virtue, reason to rule my life, not emotions. I embraced resilience, moderation, careful understanding of a situation and emotional distance. I was a disciple of Seneca and had begun to follow the speeches of young Epictetus. Only by being stoic can human beings avoid being torn apart by misfortune. What happens, happens. We should not care. We should not let ourselves care. Paul said that God doesn't need our offerings. God's impassive to them and sent Jesus to lead us in an ethical path. That appealed to me. I thought the resurrection an unnecessary premise, but the heightened role of women in the new Christian community lit a fire in me. I was part of the Athens congregation, perhaps the smallest Paul founded, but later I moved to Ephesus. It was an awful sea journey, but, like the old Hebrew story about the prophet and the fish, I was running away. You see, I was a Christian, but I was also still a Stoic. After all, a philosophy isn't a religion. No misfortune should bother us, but not everything at once. First, my strong, brave, laughing brother, Timon the soldier, died. On guard duty one night, he chased some boys who were stealing holy offerings. One turned around and threw a stone. It killed him, and it wasn't even a heroic war death. Timon would have hated it. My mother and father died on a sea journey to Salamis. The same year, my husband Theo, the best man I've ever known, grew ill with a wasting sickness. Week by week he became thinner and less able to walk or speak. I said goodbye to more of him every day. Then our son Aetus, our beautiful athlete, was chosen and taken to Rome to run and wrestle. There is word that games there soon will challenge even the Olympics. Aetus was excited, but I was beyond grief. What would happen to him in the gymnasiums of Rome? What would happen to him when he became too old to win or even too old to play? So I took a chance and became a companion to an old woman returning to Ephesus, to live among Christians who gathered in the house that was built by John, the beloved, for Mary, the mother of Jesus. And it was there that I first heard the words of the gospel that is in the tradition of John, that Jesus said to his disciples just before he was arrested, "I will not leave you orphaned. I will come to you." I must read more, maybe even about the resurrection, maybe about love.